What is good, fellow Outcasts and other rejects? It's Jack here, and welcome to the WTC, the Anime Outcasts. First things, if you're new here, we upload anime what-ifs. Secondly, we hope you enjoy our content. If you do, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Now, let's get into the video. This what-if starts on the day of Deku's Quirk Manifestation. It was just another typical day in preschool, but throughout it, Izuku's stomach started gurgling with an unstoppable hunger, with nothing seemingly easing it. Plus, he started having random moments of insane super strength for his age, like destroying the ground he was walking on. Though things start to take a darker turn during recess, with Izuku going through one of Bakugo's bullying routines. As he's getting ganged up on by Bakugo and his crew, while trying to stand up to them, vicious bursts of steam jet off him, forcing his aggressors back. When he's fully engulfed by said steam, he begins to roar in pain, his voice distorted and twisted in the process. Then, with one last massive blast of steam and searing heat, a bloody red and green armoured creature emerged from where Izuku should have been. With its claws outstretched, it screams into the air with a terrifying shriek that freezes the other kids in place. Deku? Bakugo cowardly asks, his voice uncharacteristically shaky. With its eyes burning a furious crimson, the creature starts staring at the three kids with it, showing off its bladed forearms and fingers, telling the kids its intentions without speaking a word. We now skip forward a couple of days to a scene between Inko, Izuku's mother, and a doctor. Inko couldn't even look at the doctor as she buried her face into her hands while uncontrollably weeping, but yet the doctor seemed emotionless as he just flipped through notes on his clipboard like he's expecting this situation. Inko sort of expected that, however, as she's been regularly checked up by him during her pregnancy with Izuku, but with that, he explains Izuku's newfound affliction, his quirk, Amazon. To put it simply, inside of Izuku are protein-eating cells. These cells can turn Izuku into a reptilian-like monster if they don't consume a certain amount of protein per day, or forced into a dangerously emotional state. This form, dubbed as the Amazon origin form by the Doctor, was a feral beast with immense strength and speed. Its jade armour appears to be utterly impenetrable, with numerous blades and jagged edges scattered around it. On top of all that are its heightened senses, from which its smell to its hearing were boosted to superhuman levels, with its eyes being able to see in infrared or by energy levels. Although these powers could rival any pro hero, the drawback of not being able to control them whatsoever made them basically useless and a hazard to others. Though, according to the Doctor, there was a good part. It is possible to circumvent the cell's cannibalistic nature by eating foods with high protein levels, such as steak or raw eggs for example. But then, he follows up with some actual good news. Apparently, they had captured Izuku in the last couple of days, doing a few precautionary tests to get to the bottom of what was going on with him. Finding all the information just told, they also did some less ethical tests to see if they could force the kid back just into that, a normal kid. So after creating a highly potent chemical concoction and testing it on Izuku, they would eventually transform him back into his standard form, though his Amazon cells are still very much prominent in his body. With that comes another time skip, this time to the proper start of the series, catching Deku during one of his evening classes, though most of his peers refrained from calling him that name, out of fear from the story that seemed to follow him everywhere. Izuku couldn't really shake the stigma that came with having an uncontrollable quirk and attempting to attack kids with it. Who could? Though, their perception of Izuku was completely wrong. He was far from the blood-craving monster his quirk made him out to be. The truth was, he was even afraid of himself. Because of that, it made him even more introverted and quiet, not even speaking in class unless called upon by the teacher. Like when the class were talking about where they wanted to go next, Deku just stares down at his hero notes as he tries to hold back tears, as he wants to put his hand in the air and proudly announce he's going to be a hero, but that dream had been crushed many years ago. When in the standard canon where Bakugo is supposed to burn Deku's hero notes, instead he just glances at him, with that idea brewing in his head, as he's afraid of the Amazon quirk, but still not Midoriya himself. That brings us to when Deku is walking home alone, like usual. He's in a similar mood to canon, even though nothing bad has actually happened yet. As he steps under the bridge on his way home, he hears a strange gurgling and groans from behind him, like it just appeared from the sewer gate. But when he turns to look behind him, he sees a large sludge-based creature. It easily towers over Izuku, causing him to stumble back in fear. But as he's cowardly walking back, sludge tendrils envelop him to assimilate him into the villain's mass. Then, steam starts to jet off Izuku, like when he was a kid, as he starts to feel the Amazon cells within him beginning to awaken, eventually taking him over and causing him to be engulfed in said steam. With the heat-based explosion, the sludge villain is scattered around the tunnel, leaving the now feral Izuku free. The Amazon starts roaring with rage as he charges into the distance, leaving the villain stranded in pieces and in fear before All Might comes to finish the job. Because of Izuku's Quirk's nature, his body is mainly being piloted by feral instincts, meaning he's barely conscious in this form, or his mind is barely remembering what's happening. He's only fully aware for a few minutes per day, or an hour if he was lucky, though there would be a few key things Izuku would be awake to know, like him being claimed by an oddly violent vigilante, Stendhal, or as we know him, the hero killer Stain, but he hasn't quite at that point of life just yet, though Izuku would witness his blood-soaked transition from questionable vigilante to fully fledged villain. Stain would use the Amazon Deku like a form of a twisted executioner, having him prey on the heroes he dubbed the worst of the worst, not fitting a death by his blade. Izuku would be able to recall one too many of those moments, as that's the time his uncontrollable hunger would be satisfied, letting him gain a bit of his sanity back, just for a bit. There is also one more way for his conscience to come back in a smaller way. Stain basically found out there's a less natural armor covering Izuku's neck, meaning a well-placed taser strike could keep him docile and less violent. Deku would be forced to endure Stain's twisted crusade for about a year. For reference, the same amount of time All Might would have been training Izuku to gain one for all, plus a 1 or 2 extra months, give or take. However, their demented partnership would quickly come to an end after that year, as Stain appeared to run into another one of Izuku's kind. The two would be travelling through Japan's sewers, as Stain wanted to take a visit to Hosu City, knowing that there was a lot of heroes there. That's when a voice calls out from behind the two.
Damn, how does schmuck like you get your hands on the Omega?
Stain turns around to see a man who appears to be similar looking to Izuku, having similar looking natural armor, though with some distinct differences. Like his seems to be piranha based, while Izuku's is more snake and lizard based. His body's other two differences were a matte red finish and a more manufactured armoured plating appearance, but still looking quite natural, with the same compound eyes. Who are you? Are you the kid's father? Stain grunts while discreetly preparing his weapons, thinking a conflict was inevitable.
Oh no, we're tied by something far thicker than blood.
The fellow Amazon laughs out while brandishing his wrist-mounted fin-like blades, indicating that he also thought a fight was inevitable. Then, the two rush each other, Stain's sword locking in between the Amazon's bladed fins. Their clash is short-lived as the Amazon swipes his arm down, snapping the blade in half before hooking Stain in the jaw, and with that, Izuku mindlessly joins the fight, attempting to pounce on the man, but this is only met by the other Amazon, kicking the flowing sewage into the air, using it as a form of distraction, as Izuku barrels through it while losing sight of the attacker. Then, his legs are kicked out from under him by the Crimson Amazon, who is now behind him, letting him grab them and smash Deku into one of the walls. Who? What are you? Stain demands to know as he hobbles back up the tunnel, two blades scraping the floor as he walks. But the man just laughs as he exclaims,
Come on, Stain, take a wild guess.
But he isn't playing any of the Amazon's games, staring at him with a frightening intensity. So the man explains a bit about himself, referring to himself as the Amazon Alpha. Then, as Stain was taking in the new information, finally getting somewhat of an understanding why he was so persistent in calling the executioner the Omega, then, before Stain could properly reply, the Alpha blitzed past him, leaving a small blast of sewage in his wake. As he faces his opponent, he notices a large splash of blood covering the wall to his right, while he falls to his knees in unbearable pain. There was a massive gash on his lower ribs with the Alpha's sharp gun metal grey fins now crimson like his armour. He then moves past Stain casually, as he turns his attention towards the Omega Amazon, Izuku. But before he could get to him, Stain grabs his ankles as he was bleeding out, his red blood mixing with the green sewage. Alpha merely just shakes his hand away before stamping on it, completely smashing all of the bones within. Izuku is locked into the wall that he was just smashed into, his jagged and sharp armour sticking into the cobblestone. As soon as Alpha steps close to him, he starts squealing like a wild hog, trying to force his way out of his temporary restraints. but he was too far malnourished and hungry to do it, his body lacking the energy needed. This is something fellow Amazon notices, immediately due to him knowing the signs.
You could have had a bootleg All Might here by your side if you simply fed him right, but yet you wasted it by giving him anger that wasn't his own. You idiot.
Alpha monologues as he rips Izuku out of the wall and jabs him in the neck with a needle, seemingly knocking him out, but keeping him in his Amazon origin form. Stain then calls out, asking what he wants with his executioner.
That's the thing, Stain. I want to kill him, but I got friends who want to let him loose on a certain hero school.
And that is it. Thanks to Outcasts and Rejects for watching to the end of the video. If this video gets 20 likes, we'll continue this what if, but if we get 50 likes, we'll upload it next week. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video to get the next part early. Hey, don't leave just yet. Just to let you guys know, I have my own YouTube channel, Jack Animations. On this channel, I make dumb cartoons and other stupid things. If you're into that kind of stuff, check it out down below, link in description. Goodbye!